Okay, and here is our panel. Welcome back, Mitchell, John and Jodie. I'm going to start coming to you, Mitchell, because my favourite plant scientist, I think everyone should have one. Mine is Jenny Milson. She wants to know, Mitch, and now her question's just moved on me. Just wondering if you're seeing comparable adoption rates from PGSs and PDSs programs.
Yeah, look, thanks for the question. It's a good question, and how we define and identify impact of our adoption projects is something we're doing a lot of work on, and I think there's probably a lot more thought yet to go into. So some basic figures out of the 2019-20 financial year, comparing those to the Profitable Grazing Systems program, engaged 530 producers across about 1 million hectares, and its impact assessment identified by an external impact assessment was $17 per hectare of additional value created from that program. And PDS, it's had a huge increase in interest just in this last few years. In the 1920 financial year, we had 28 projects funded through that program with about 10 each. So certainly more producers going through PGS at the moment. The PDS impact value per hectare is about $6. So certainly higher impact coming from PGS and higher numbers there. I guess the adoption rate, the kind of baseline adoption rate we aim for with both of those programs is 75% practice change of core producers. I think the key difference between those two programs in terms of bigger scale practice change is the demonstration site program is quite a big picture program that not only involves those core producers involved with sites on farm, but the broader community and region. So it has a lot bigger reach than just those directly involved in the program that are necessarily having the monitoring going on with. So I'd probably caution the face value of those impact figures to say that a program like demonstration sites certainly has higher awareness raising through the region, which I think has a lot of potential to bring people on in future years.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Mitch. I hope that answered Jenny's question. A couple of questions coming through for Jodie. In fact, someone even notes that they've bombarded you, Jodie, so thanks for that fantastic presentation. Do people have the opportunity to unsubscribe? In their reasons for unsubscribing, it might give ideas for improvement. I think a lot of those MailChimp things do offer that.
I think that is something that I can't believe we actually haven't done already. We do have the unsubscribe option, but at this stage we don't have we don't have it built into the form to be asking reasons why. But we definitely do need to do that. That's a very good point.
I feel like that's just moved to the top of your to-do list once you hang up from this call. Carly Drew had her question in very early. She wants to know, what is your method for finding content for the next month's newsletter? You know, how do you keep that treadmill going and not turn it into a treadmill, but turn it into, you know, great, insightful ideas and engaging content? Do you have a special aim, or do you do themed newsletters? Carly wants to know.
We should be doing themed newsletters. It's something that we've thought about and discussed. However, it also comes as a factor of the funding cycle, project funding cycles, and usually that's a theme, unfortunately. However, themed, we have definitely thought about it, and we definitely do it with social media, but we could investigate it for the e-bulletins. I'm not sure if you're getting any wind feedback. Sorry about that. The wind's just picked up. But that's also been on our, where we're talking about splitting up the audience into different subregions and locations within Australia. It can also be done by their interest and theme. So we definitely could be doing that.
Okay, great. Yes, we are picking up a little bit of wind. So, Jodie, I'll take some questions to John and see if you can kind of get yourself to a bunker or something out of the wind. John, before I put the question to you offline, I don't know, the people in the probably don't know, but we can chat to each other on the presenter chat. And you had a great recommendation for a publication. Great, constructs great sort of those hook lines and teaser lines to get people interested. Would you like to share that with the broader group too?
Oh, sure. Yeah, thanks, Nicole. It was I was inspired by Jodie's efforts to actually connect with her audience well. I think she does a great job. I'm an enthusiastic supporter of the bulletin. But amongst the various streams that I get in, there's one called Medium. There's a Medium. It's just a publishing platform basically for authors of all kinds of things. There's a lot of rubbish on there. But because it is so popular, you actually get this sort of competition to generate the best teasers. And I was suggesting to Jodie that, or any other publisher, in fact, that if you wanted to get a bit of a master class in how to construct great teasers, try subscribing to one of the Medium publications and just check out how the people work their teasers. It's really quite an art form.
I was about to say, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was about to say it's an absolute art form. And then it's also the art form to draft a teaser that's engaging enough to get you in, but not disappoint the reader by the time that they've got to the end of the article to feel, well, hang on, they didn't deliver what they promised. You know, I'm forever, well, not forever, I think I've broken myself the habit, but clicking on something thinking, wow, this is going to be salacious and saucy and exciting, and scrolling, and I don't ever get that filled. Now, John, I digress. So the question for you is, in your presentation, you described Tess and Bev B, who may be or may not be Don today, would like to know, can you describe how she is delivering her stewardship? Is she being supported financially?
Yeah, look, that's a great question. And before I say an answer, I think that the key thing is that we should have an open discussion, open forum about this sort of question, because in many ways, the systems that we need haven't been designed yet. As soon as you start talking about the problems of finance, the problems of capitalism, people immediately, it's like a trigger point, of course. And people say, oh, what do you mean? Is it like socialism or communism? Because that's all they have for a frame of reference. But I'd like to actually just push that dynamic a bit the other way and say, in every other form of human endeavor, we just assume that there's headroom for innovation, there's headroom for growth and for change. Yet somehow, when it comes to the way we knit ourselves together using capital and using finance, we seem to shut the conversation down and assume that the rules under which we currently play are the best there's ever going to be. And that simply can't be the case. We have to open up headroom for ourselves to develop new and better ways to cooperate with one another using finance. So that's a bit of a framing before answering the direct question. I believe absolutely people should be out there on the land working in their space with the best of their abilities, and they should be well rewarded for it. The problem is the current system makes that a risky venture. They only have so many things that they can do because of the problems of economics. So the way to get out of that is to simply pay people to produce land and act as stewards as public servants. That has a terrible ring to it for many people in many ears. But actually, if you think about it the other way around, we have a terrible crisis of trust in every single human endeavor. Why are you a politician? Oh, it's because you're doing it for the money. Why are you a doctor? Oh, because you're doing it for the money. Why are you a lawyer? Because you're doing it for the money. Why are you a farmer? Oh, you're doing it for the money. What if we took that out of our conversation and said, why are you doing it? Oh, because you're a land steward. You're a steward of the land. That's really what you want to do. That's where your heart is. That would be a fantastic change to the conversation. And one of the ways to do that, of course, is to guarantee people an excellent income, a living wage to stay on country and act as stewards. So yes, absolutely, I believe people should be rewarded for what they do. It just shouldn't be in this competitive kind of market context. How that's done, that's a matter for conversation. Let's have that conversation.
Absolutely. You're talking about really big, broad changes and shifts in paradigms, particularly
Absolutely.
In a monetary system where the risk in standing up and doing something different is potentially financial punishment. But I'm absolutely hear what you're saying, John. If you've got any more questions for John or Mitchell or Jodie, please pop them up in the chat now. We've got about 6 minutes to get through those. A couple more here for Jodie now that you look like you're in a much more comfortable situation, and dog is out of the camera now, although I think we all appreciated his little cameo. Sally Ware would like to know, relevant clear photos with great captions is a good tool to use as well. I think that's just more a comment to share with other people. Denise would like to know, any tips for motivating contributors to generate stories?
I like to remind them, particularly because our authors are scientists, that there is no point on. No.
Oh, we can still hear you, but perhaps the plug was pulled by the puppy. I'm not sure. We'll try and get Jodie back. Bev, I see your question there. Is it better to have fewer longer bulletins or more frequent shorter bulletins? Great question. When I'm not emceeing conferences, I'm hosting a podcast called There's an Elephant in My Paddock, and it's one that we're always grappling with. Do we do the long podcasts or get them out more frequently? So also, I think we'll probably be doing some content on that podcast coming up to do with this conference. So if you've not downloaded or listened, There's an Elephant in My Paddock is the podcast, and we're always looking for people to pose questions for that as well, if you'd like to pose a question for us to solve. The rest of the questions on the screen are for Jodie. If you do have one for Mitchell or for John, please send them through. Mitchell, I'm keen to know, after listening to John's talk, which was quite, a very different topic to yours, have you got any questions for John?
Yeah, look, thanks. I'm interested, particularly in the context of the last few days, John. Look, don't get me wrong, I really appreciate your talk, and there's some big questions there to ask and discuss, as you've said. Interested to get your perspective on the emergence of ecosystem services markets and whether you think that's a step in the right direction for monetising environmental outcomes.
Yeah, thanks, Mitchell. That's a really great question. It is a hot topic. A lot of people see a lot of potential and promise in it. I kind of see it as being a sort of a gateway, and like many things, the sort of judgment of is this good or is this bad or is this the right direction or the wrong direction, it really comes down not so much to the actual thing we're looking at, but the way in which we implement it. So I think that at the core of things, we really have to admit that using financial returns to interpret good and bad of every facet of our life and every facet of our being here on the planet, that's really a relative, it's actually a very recent development in human history, and it's one that isn't going to work over the long term. That big picture, of course, but it really comes right smack into, are stewardship payments good or bad, or how should we proceed with them? It has to do with answering that question. So why are you on the land has to be answered because land is family. Land is actually a relation. Land is not an asset class. It's not something to be alienated. We only exist here through the cooperative effort of the whole rest of the ecosystem. It's not ours. We're just participants in it. So in a sense, the big outstanding debt that we have to pay to the ecosystem is living in reciprocity with it. What does the ecosystem actually need in its own terms? Not our terms, their terms. Like, that used to be the role of a whole class of people called land stewards, was to sit with the land and understand where it was coming from, and to figure out how humans reacted or interacted with that in a respectful way. That conversation is almost entirely absent from our current dialogue, and yet it's profoundly at the center of what enables us to live sustainably with the rest of the living world. So if we came to stewardship payments in that conversation with that framework in mind, I'm sure it would be productive. If we come at it from the point of view of this is another way for you to have a sustainable business, and that's the ultimate objective, I think we're going to be coming up far short. You only have to look at what's happening in regenerative agriculture circles at the moment, where you have some great pioneers out there doing excellent work to regenerate land and bring terrible properties back up to amazing condition. Then for various reasons, they sell the property. The new owner says, yoo-hoo, this is great. They suck all the natural value out of it and trash the land again, because that makes economic sense. That is absolutely no way to live on the earth. And I reckon that many of these stewardship payments are actually framed around that capital paradigm. They're not framed around actual stewardship.
Fantastic. Well, we've got just less than a minute left on this session before we get our plug pulled, just as Jodie had done already. It's been fantastic having the conversation, or at least starting the conversation, or I don't even think we've actually started it, John, but you've signalled a beginning of the conversation. Mitchell, fantastic to have you join us from your place. We're about to wrap up this session. An announcement, the Rangeland Journals, the official scientific publication of the Australian Rangeland Society, publishes original work that improves our understanding of biophysical, social, cultural, economic influences in rangeland use and management. Papers are peer-reviewed and include the results of original research or topic reviews. The journal is available globally, online and printed by the Rangelands Journal. Please visit the ARS website for more information, and you could, if you have something to contribute, I'm sure you can contact them through there as well. Thanks again for another fantastic session. We'll be back in this stream at 10:15.